guys, welcome back to my channel and thanks so much for clicking on today's video. My name is Olivia. I post beauty, life and style videos here weekly on YouTube. If you're new, welcome to the fam gang. I would love it if you stuck around, and if you do enjoy this content, then please make sure to give the video a thumbs up as well as subscribe if you haven't already. So in this week's video, I wanted to answer one of the biggest questions that I get either here on YouTube or over on my Instagram or in person, and that is, Olivia, how do you buy and ship things in from the US and the UK? So I thought, you know what, let me just sit down and film this video so that everything is in one place, and anytime I get this question, I can refer people to this video as a resource. This video is going to be specific for buying and shipping by air, number one, and two, buying and shipping using a shipping company. So not buying from the store and having that store ship it to Kenya, but having all that stuff kind of sent to one place, have it consolidated and have somebody ship it to you. If you are interested in a video on that kind of direct shipping, there's a Kenyan YouTuber on here called Crystal Elisa, and she's done a video about the new M-Pesa virtual post boxes, and she tested that out for some products that she bought from the US. So I'll make sure to link her video down below, so check that out if that's what you're interested in finding out about. But as I said, mine is for consolidation shipping. Okay, so then let's just get started. Okay, so you've scoured the web, you have found the item that you want. The question people don't often ask themselves is, can I actually buy from this website? And this is actually the number one thing I do when I discover a website and I think, gosh, I would love to buy products from here. I go and check whether they accept foreign cards. This is a big issue that locks out so many of us that aren't in these countries from being able to buy. I haven't really researched to find out why certain companies do allow foreign cards and why other companies don't, but I suspect it has something to do with online fraud, but probably also regulations and things that people have to kind of meet before they can offer this kind of service to non-locals, as it were. So this is how I would check whether a website will accept your card. Go onto the website, choose any item, add it to the cart. Go to checkout. You're not going to complete the checkout process. It doesn't matter what item it is. This is just to test whether the website will work. Scroll through the cart and get to the bit where you put in the shipping address. I'll come back to this later when I talk about shipping agents, but you will have an address that you would use in the States or the UK. Fill in those details. Click through. It will then most likely take you to a billing address. Now, the billing address is the address that is linked to the card which you're using to pay. So for you, if you're in Kenya, then it's a Kenyan card. So most websites automatically will pick the shipping address and copy paste it into the billing address section. Make sure it's unchecked. So make sure you can change the billing address, or my billing address is different from my shipping address. There's usually some kind of text around that. So click it so that you would have to input your billing address. In the billing address section, scroll down to the country bit and check whether you can order from a Kenyan card. So the address will have like address line number 1, postcode, all of those kinds of lines. At the bottom, it will have country. Click the little arrow and see whether Kenya is one of those listed countries in the list. Sometimes websites will be locked for countries, so it will just be US, or it will just be US and Canada, or it will just be UK. Sometimes, particularly for UK websites, it will be the UK plus like EU countries, etc., etc. So you just want to scroll in that list and see that Kenya is available in that list. If Kenya is available, you are good to go. Celebrate, have a little dance, you can buy from that website. If Kenya isn't in that list, you won't be able to buy from this, because once you put in the billing address information and your card information, the system will counter check to make sure that your card is registered to that address. If it's not, the transaction will not go through. It will come up as like a fraudulent transaction, and you won't be able to complete your order. Or even if it has gone through, they'll come back to you and let you know that it hasn't been completed. So that's my tip number one. Do that before you get excited about the website. So there are times when I've been like, oh my God, I can buy from this website. Gone to add all these things to cart, gone to checkout, only to realize that it doesn't actually work. If your lifestyle is set up like that and you have a bank account set up in different countries and it's eligible, then go ahead and use that billing address for that card. But just always make sure that the card that you're using and the billing address are registered, like they make sense and they talk to each other. Otherwise, okay, point number two is about paying for your goods. So how do you pay? So 99% of websites will allow for card payment. So you will directly input your credit or debit card details into the website. Others will allow payment via other platforms such as Google Pay, Amazon Pay, Apple Pay, although Apple Pay I don't think is working in the African region. So Google Pay, Amazon Pay are the ones that I've come across that work, that allow you to put your card in but kind of take it through their servers. That will be important in a moment. I'll come back to it. So start off with the card payment, the direct card payment. So your card is registered here in Kenya, but you actually have a couple of different options. Number one, to pay from a Kenya shilling card. Number two, to pay from a foreign currency card. So if you're using a Kenyan card, you really do need to consider bank charges and how your bank will charge you for particular transactions. So MasterCard and Visa both have portals where you can go and check what the rate of the day is going to be as per Visa and as per MasterCard, and how much they'll charge you for that transaction. The bit that you need to get, but you do need to include something there called the bank charge. So each different bank has a particular percentage that they calculate on the Forex rate to be able to get money back from basically allowing you to use this service. Talk to your bank and get that bank fee, and then you input it into the kind of little portal thing, and then you can say my card is in Kenya shillings, my transaction is in pounds, or my transaction is in dollars, my bank rate is X%, and then it will calculate and tell you exactly to the shilling how much you will be charged for that transaction if you're paying with a Kenya shilling card. Option number two is to use a card that's registered in Kenya but is a foreign currency card. So an account that is set up dedicated for dollars, an account that's set up dedicated for pounds, etc., etc. Just make sure if you are going to set up one of these that your bank will give you an ATM card because you need the card number to be able to transact online. The third option is to get a prepaid card that has several currencies on it. I think I&M do one where they have like pounds, euros, yen, I don't know, all kinds of currencies. And you basically do the same kind of thing. You load it with money, and then you know exactly then how much value you have in terms of when you transact on that website. I said I would come back to Amazon Pay and Google Pay later, and that's because Amazon Pay and Google Pay allow you to transact on websites that would lock you out because of that billing address issue. So you remember before we were talking about you might not be able to pay for something if the website doesn't recognize Kenya as like a billing address country. Amazon and Google Pay allow you to get around those restrictions, because what you do is basically input your card details into Amazon Pay, into Google Pay, and then you can use that as a payment method. It will still charge your card, but it allows you to kind of circumnavigate that. It's still kind of like a growing payment option, so it's not available on like all websites, it's not available on absolutely every shop that you would want to purchase at, but if you do get locked out because of the billing address thing, just double check and see whether Amazon Pay and Google Pay are allowed. I've used it personally, works seamlessly. The last one that I want to talk about, but it's more like a caveat just to let you know, if you see PayPal as a payment option and you get excited because you're like, yes, they've locked me out because of billing and now I can pay by PayPal. Sorry to break it to you. PayPal doesn't allow you to pay for goods that are not being delivered to the country in which your PayPal account is set up. So if you set up a PayPal account and it's usually registered to location and it's registered here in Kenya, and then you try and use that PayPal account to pay for something that will have like a billing address in UK or the US, it won't allow you to do it. It will come back and it will give you an error message. A few years ago, you were able to use PayPal as a payment method for anywhere in the world, irrespective of where you set up your account, but they've kind of locked it now, again, I think to kind of narrow down on fraud issues. But just a word of caution, if you see PayPal and you get excited, if you set up your PayPal account and it's registered here in Kenya, it's not going to work. Next point is about shipping costs within the UK or within the US. So most websites will have a standard fee for like standard shipping within the US or the UK. It just means that it will take a couple of days to get there. You're not going to get it immediately the next day. Bear that in mind as you are calculating your costs. So make sure that you factor that in. Some websites do also have like a threshold. So if you spend more than like $50, if you spend more than £30, if you spend more than £100, then they would give you free shipping. So just figure that factor in, of course, when you're doing your math, because you don't want those surprises right at the end. If you're looking for an item quite urgently, asterisk, we'll come back to this when we're talking about shipping timelines. If you're looking for an item quite urgently, you might want to pay for express shipping, which will probably cost a bit more. But also sometimes if you spend quite a lot of money on some websites, it will also allow you to do the express shipping for free. Something to bear in mind when you are shopping from the US particularly is US taxes. The US has this really weird system where goods moving from one state to another state can be taxed. I don't understand how that works, but it's a thing. There are some states in the US which don't have tax obligations like that. So if stuff gets sent to that state, then there are no taxes applied. But for some locations there are taxes applied. So just bear that in mind, and it might also inform the shipping company that you use. Check what state they're in, check whether whether taxes apply for that particular state or not. You may want to choose a company that is located in the state where the taxes don't apply. Okay, so you've bought your goods, you've inputted all your details, it's confirmed your order, and then you get some tracking info. So you'll get an email from the company letting you know that your order has been placed, and then they'll usually let you know in that first email that they'll be sending you some tracking information. The tracking information is very important to keep hold of and to follow, because this will give you kind of surety that those goods have arrived at the shipper's address. So you have put in this address for whatever company where you want all of your things to go, and for them to send it to you, you want to make sure that it's actually arrived there. Some platforms, that I'll talk about the ones that I've used a little bit later in the video, have a tracking system kind of built in, so you would log in and you'd be able to see when your goods have arrived at that warehouse. But some websites don't, but some shipping companies don't. So that's why I say keep hold of your tracking information, save those emails to make sure and confirm with your shipping agent that everything has arrived. That will just be a little bit of a cushion for you to prove that it got there in case there are any disputes or issues with somebody saying that something didn't arrive when you know full well that you paid for it and it did arrive. Okay, so I said earlier that shipping dates would become important, and this is because a lot of air freight companies ship on like a weekly basis or 10-day basis or whatever basis they use, right? They have a calendar and they know that once every week we send packages out on Friday. When you are engaging a shipping company to do this for you, please check what their cutoff date is for that week or that period's shipping. For example, you might know that shipping company A sends goods out every Friday morning. So they tell you that all of your goods, to make that Friday shipping, all of your goods need to have arrived at the warehouse by Wednesday. So that will then also inform you when you are placing your order. If you want something to come and arrive quickly, you might want to pay for the expedited shipping from the vendor to the warehouse to make sure that it can make that cutoff. Once it makes that cutoff and you're in the clear, then it will be included in that week's shipping, and then it will come however many days that shipping company has said it will come by. But what do you do if you have a number of different orders that are coming from a number of different stores? A lot of air freight companies allow you to consolidate your shipping, i.e. you've got all of these packages coming in, but you want them only to be sent out when they are all at the place. You can request that. Some companies do it, some companies don't. Particularly when there's huge demand, companies will want to just send stuff out as it comes. But if you can put that request in, wait until absolutely everything has arrived. They consolidate everything for you and then they send it out to you. If they do consolidated shipping, ask them to get rid of some of the excess packaging, which will increase the weight of your package. Tell them to take out all the extra things if you are comfortable with them doing that, so that the weight of the package can be reduced, which will then overall reduce the cost of your shipping. Okay, now we come to the cost of bringing the goods to you in Kenya. You've figured out how to buy the goods, they've arrived at the warehouse, and now it's time for those goods to come to you. Costs to bear in mind: almost all shipping companies that I've used will take care of the tax obligations here to do with KRA. So you don't have to stress about, oh my God, they've overcharged me for a pen that was worth $2 and they valued it at $200 and now I have to pay this ridiculous tax. The companies know what they're doing if you're using a reputable one, and you don't have to stress yourself with all those shenanigans. Almost all companies will do a per kilogram charge rate for goods that you're bringing in, unless they're really bulky. If they're going to be really bulky, then they will do something called a volumetric weight, and they will calculate the volume size of the object and they'll charge you according to that. It's been a couple of years since I've brought anything in that was bulky enough for volumetric weight, but just talk to the company that you go for, figure out how they do that so that you can kind of have an idea of the charges that you will be paying. For per kilogram weight, it's pretty standard, particularly for the US. It's usually just a one-off fee, say, I don't know, $15 or $20 or $10, whatever it is, per kilogram to bring that item to you. So they'll weigh it and they'll give you an invoice based on the kilos. I haven't had any problems with anybody trying to like be shifty with kilogram weight. It's usually quite accurate, at least the companies that I've used. So you pay per the kilo. Some companies, however, will have a minimum weight. So they won't bring anything that weighs like 200 grams. They want to make sure that they'll bring in something weighing a kilo plus. If you do bring something in that weighs below that threshold, and I've just used a kilogram as an example, if you do bring something in that is below that threshold, they will charge you for the minimum threshold. So for example, if their minimum weight threshold is 1 kilo and you bring something in that's worth 500 grams, you will still get charged for the kilo because that's the nearest lowest denominator. But a lot of companies, I think, are shifting away from that now and are just charging you for whatever it is. So if you've brought in 4.97 kilograms worth of stuff, you'll get charged for 4.97 kilograms. So something to bear in mind and just watch out for. For a lot of companies, they will charge you that per weight kilogram in the currency of the country. So dollars in the US or pounds in the UK. Check with them what the conversion rate they're going to use is. If they are giving you, say, I don't know, 10 pounds per kilo, check with them what that conversion rate is. Sometimes it fluctuates, but you may be able to ask them, all right, from the last package that you brought in, what was the conversion rate that you used, so that you've got some kind of like ballpark figure to work with. But other companies will tell you, I don't know, $15 or 1,600 Kenya shillings per kilo, whatever it is. Don't pay for the shipping before the goods arrive. This is just standard practice. You've already paid for the goods and trusted this company to take your goods from point A to point B. All payment usually is done when the goods arrive in Kenya and they're ready to be collected. Ask for them to send you the invoice once the goods are leaving the UK or the US so that you can prep yourself in terms of the amount that is due. Because if you leave the goods in their warehouse for a while as you try to gather your coins to pay for the shipping, there may be charges incurred. For the UK specifically, most companies will have a per kilogram fee, and there'll also be kind of like a flat rate handling fee. I don't know what that is about the UK, but almost every company that I've used has that kind of handling fee for the UK. It must be something to do with regulations in the UK and how things are processed. So they'll charge you, for example, £10 per kilo, this is just a complete random example, plus £25 for handling. So the handling fee remains constant, whether you're bringing in 1 kilo of stuff or you're bringing in 200 kilos worth of stuff, that £25 will remain constant. So you'll always have that factored in, plus the cost of the per kilogram fee. How long do goods take to come to the UK? That completely varies on the company that you use. So I've used companies that can bring stuff in 7 days. I've used companies that can bring stuff in 10 days. I've used companies that can bring things in 15 days. I've used companies that can bring in stuff in 21 days. It really just does depend on the company that you use and how quickly they're able to turn things around on their end in terms of getting space on the planes and getting that stuff to arrive in Kenya, how quickly they can fix and organize whatever it is that they're doing with KRA to clear the goods through JKIA. Something to bear in mind now though, of course, because of the disruption in air travel with COVID-19, is that things are taking a lot longer to get here, and also now the fees per kilo have fluctuated or gone up because there is definitely an impact on limited space. Yes, cargo planes are still flying, but passenger planes are not. So cargo that would have got put onto a passenger plane, that space isn't there anymore. So it's purely just cargo planes, and that means that the space available is more limited, which might mean a longer timeline. And also supply and demand, just market happenings means that the cost may go up. So just factor that in mind in terms of planning for when you'll get something in. Talk to the company that you're going to use and try and get a realistic understanding of what this means. How quickly have they been able to move goods from the UK or the US over the past couple of weeks to allow yourself some kind of realistic planning time. Okay, over to the last bit of the video, which I'm sure is the bit that everyone was literally waiting for at the beginning, which is, which companies do you use, Olivia? Which companies do you use? I'm ready to write this down. I want to make it very clear. I am going to mention some companies, but this in no way is a recommendation, is an affiliation, is anything. I'm just going to tell you about companies that I have used who have brought my stuff successfully from the UK and from the US without problem. Yeah? Okay. And then I'll also mention a couple of other companies that I've heard other people say good things about, but massive disclaimer, please at your own discretion, do your own research. If you don't feel comfortable going for this, don't do it. And be patient. I think that's the most important thing. Please don't come and quarrel to me that a company lost your goods. I'm not affiliated to these organizations. I'm just letting you know because I know that you'll want to know. All right. So from the UK, I have only used three companies before. The companies are Zigofly. Zigofly was previously known as Box Kenya, but they've rebranded. I have used Map Express, and I have used African Salihiya Cargo. Those are the three that I've used from the UK successfully to bring my stuff from A to B. Zigofly we used, I think when we were ordering wedding rings, when we were ordering stuff for my daughter that was quite bulky and we wanted to bring it in. I liked them. They have a physical office here in Nairobi that you can go talk to the people and find out. They're very kind of responsive on WhatsApp and on phone, but their prices are a little bit high. But their turnaround time is quicker. So, I mean, it's really just up to you. If you want something to come really quickly, then you might be willing to pay a little bit more for that. Company number 2, African Salihiya Cargo. I have used African Salihiya years ago to bring stuff in from the UK that was quite bulky. I like using African Salihiya particularly for big things. They have a huge network all over the globe. They bring stuff in from China, from Dubai, from the States, from the UK, from all kinds of places. All of their fees I think are on their website, so you can just go there and check it out. And their shipping time was decent. I don't think it was like anything super fast, but it was decent from memory. The company that I've used most recently for shipping stuff from the UK is Map Express, and I really do have to shout out Map Express. They are based here obviously based in London, but also based here in Eastleigh. I've had really good experience actually using Map Express. This is one actually that I can recommend, but please don't come for me if it doesn't work for you. I'll leave all the information for it down below. Their per kilogram weight is fantastic. It is comparable to none that I've used before or researched about from the UK. And they ship to Kenya, Uganda, I think around East Africa, and they bring stuff in with about 10 business days. They shut down when coronavirus hit and only just started up about a month and a half or a month ago, and they still brought my stuff in within 10 working days. So 2 weeks my stuff was here, perfect. You can pick up the stuff from Eastleigh, or you can send somebody to pick it up from you for you. But I'll make sure to include that info down below, because I have had a really good working relationship with their rep in the UK, who is really just like a really nice guy, a sweetheart, and always answers my questions, gives me all the information when things have arrived, makes sure that anything else isn't arriving before he packages everything up to send it out. I mean, I can't praise them enough. For the US, I've used a couple of different companies. The one I've used the most is Savo Store. And I really liked Savo Store for its professionalism and its system. So basically, when you order anything and you get your tracking information from the company that you've bought it from, you log onto the Savo Store website and you type your tracking information into the website. As soon as that arrives, it will get checked off. So you can log into the portal and see that everything of yours has arrived. They also have a system for holding goods. So if you're ordering from a number of different stores, you can hold these items and wait for everything else to arrive and send them out all at once. A company that I've used fairly recently is Vitu Mob. Vitu Mob have been good and have turned around stuff fairly quickly, although not as fast as they were able to. I understand from another business lady that they were able to turn stuff around like yesterday. Like, you order it here, it comes the same week, or like it just into the start of the next week. But I haven't used them enough to be able to tell you more than that. Something I haven't used personally, but I've heard people talk about, is Something Random. They also have got like good reviews in terms of bringing stuff in from the US. Yeah, so if you've got any recommendations of any amazing, trustworthy shipping companies, then please leave the information in the description box. As much information about your experience, how long you've been using them, why you like them and why you choose them as compared to other shipping companies would be really useful for us to kind of learn from each other and understand. And I don't want it to become a bashing in the comments, but also, I mean, if there's any companies that we should stay away from, then maybe you want to drop that in the comments as well. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the video. I hope you found it useful. I tried to cover as many of the topics or kind of questions that I could anticipate that I would be asked about in this video. If you did enjoy it and you found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me over on Instagram as well. Yeah, that's it. So I'll see you in my next video. Bye.